Instead, Jack, you came to Russia to conduct a training. Why did you do it?
Why I did come to Russia?
Yes.
Because I like the Russians. It's as simple as that. I have been working a couple of times in Russia, and whenever I meet the Russian people, I feel a kind of depth inside the students that I really like. It is as if somewhere behind the whole thing there is a need to explore themselves deep inside, a kind of, some people would even call it a spiritual awakening or something like that. And that makes me happy.
You go all over the world and see a lot of different people from different cultures. How is about NLP in the world?
First of all, I would say about NLP that you find NLP everywhere. It is a kind of understanding of the human mind, a kind of understanding that the human mind is actually a hologram. And that kind of understanding has been spread out in a very short time. Because I think it is in the air right now. So there is a deep need inside a lot of people to explore themselves on a deeper level, and I would say that NLP is a good way to start. They may need something else to go deeper, but NLP is a very good tool for starting off with self-development.
What is about NLP as a science? Is it possible to make it not just esoteric knowledge, but just as a science, a part of psychology, which could and can help people to become wealthy, healthy, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, NLP is used by the psychopathology, and this is about health. This is about finding the communication in some kind of sickness. And whenever you find that communication, you can actually use different techniques to transform the path inside the psychology in such a way that the sickness starts to disappear. And that happens a lot all over the world. And NLP can be used very much for that, actually. There exist a number of different approaches to NLP. We have got trainers who have the more business-oriented approach, and they are doing a great job. And we have got trainers who have a more dissociated, talkative way of doing NLP, and that provides a lot of people with an understanding of the mind. And we have got trainers who are deeply into the hypnosis and timeline work, and that goes totally straight into the subconscious area. And we have got trainers around who, like me and Helena, want to go in depth. And this is more comparable with psychotherapy. And I would say we belong to that group.
Is it important for trainers to meet, to spare ideas, to speak about new techniques, like in our festival?
Yes. I would say that because many trainers, they are a little alone in the institute somewhere, and if they need new inspiration, and everybody do that, because whatever happens on the planet, it is a process. It is changing, and in these times we have right now, it is changing very rapidly. So in some way we need to upgrade our own understanding all the time, and this NLP festival is one way to do it. And I would say a marvelous way to do it. So actually in person to meet people, and you can even hear, I would say, feel them. Different from being just on the net, the internet. Yes.
Where are the borders of the NLP?
A good question. I'm still looking. Well, I would say that NLP gives a marvelous understanding on what goes on at the conscious level. It even provides students with an understanding on what goes on at the subconscious level as well. I find it a little more hard to see how NLP can provide us with an understanding of what goes on at the spiritual level. I think that in that case we need to take NLP to an approach that it has not achieved that. So I do my own system for that part, the spiritual level. And I know other trainers throughout the world who have developed other spiritual systems to cover that need that people have for also to develop themselves at the spiritual level. Back to NLP, I would say it covers perfect at the conscious level and gives a good understanding of the subconscious as well.
In ordinary NLP, basic NLP, we usually describe everything in the terms of visual, auditory and kinesthetic submodalities.
Sure.
What about spiritual level? Can we describe persons, he is on the one level and he is on the other level?
Well,
how to measure
yeah,
levels?
There is an even better model for that actually, and that is the Enneagram, because Enneagram cover that area very good. I mean, Enneagram works with 9 different levels of development and cover the whole area for how to compare that. I would also say that maybe somewhere out there exist an NLP trainer today who would like to find the spiritual submodalences. I mean, NLP is based on curiosity. That's the deep approach behind NLP. So go out, find out, make a model, teach some people, and why shouldn't there be a trainer out there somewhere?
What do you think about Robert Dilts's the third generation NLP, where NLP of the field, which you can't measure, can't feel?
Robert Dilts, I have got the deepest respect for Robert Dilts. He is a marvelous trainer. He has done some marvelous things to NLP, and I'm not familiar with this development in such details that I actually have an opinion on it.
It's a good position. And what would you recommend to a person who only starts to learn NLP?
The first thing to do is enroll in one of the locals NLP practitioner training, because the result of an NLP practitioner training taught soberly is a quite new understanding about how the mind works. And that can be a big eye-opener to anybody that is not familiar with that. So, enrolled in a practitioner training, we can find practitioner trainings all over the world, and they have numerous number of institutes in Russia.
Some people think that it's a good idea to learn something from the very best persons. For example, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, and they ask if it's possible to learn something from the ordinary NLP trainer in their own little towns.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do they need to go to Richard Bandler and John Grinder, or is it enough for begin to learn from the normal training?
Let me put it this way. What Mr. Bandler and Mr. Grinder did was unique, and they should have all the credit we can give them for that, absolutely. They are marvelous trainers. And the thing about NLP trainers is that it is the personality that really counts. It's not necessarily this certificate. It isn't really that makes a big trainer. It is the personality, it is the heart, it is the knowledge, and it is the trainer's ability to transform that heart and knowledge in such a way that the students of his or her training can actually adapt it. That's a big trainer, because then transformation takes place for the student. And I would say that some trainers, they are very good at that. Never mind if they have ever met Mr. Bandler or not. And some trainers, they could train a little more. Because I can remember one of my old trainers, he said that the real school, you can measure the real school by the energy it is able to connect with. I think that's true, because that means transformation.
You have founded some NLP institutes in some countries. Could you say a few words about it?
Absolutely. When I started the first NLP institute, that is more or less 20 years ago now, it was in Copenhagen, in Denmark, where I'm born, and that became a very, very big institute. And we saw thousands of people in that institute over the next 10 years. That was at the time where NLP was really starting up in Denmark. So we were actually one of the oldest trainers in Scandinavia. And you know, like I said before, change takes place, everything is a process. So going to this institute every day for 10 years, well, we needed something else. So we started to create new institutes. We created an institute in Norway, we created an institute in Sweden, and we created a number of institutes in Denmark. Actually, I think we had 8 companies at some time. And it was fun, and it became big. And you know, everything has its time. And one day, I simply took the shares I had and gave them to my wife, and moved out to try something else. I really wanted to try something else. And later on, she gave her shares to the trainers back in the institute. And some of them, they have closed down now, and some of them, they are very successful today.
How many people have finished your courses, your trainings?
Oh, I don't know, it is 3,000 or 4,000. I don't know. I have stopped counting anything a long time ago.
There are some
but
trainers.
It must be something like that. Yeah.
There are some trainers who write.
Yeah, but I did that the first couple of years. but you know, when we passed the first 1,000, I have stopped that. And today I would say it must be maybe 3,000. I don't know.
Thank you very much for this interview. It was an interview with Jack Makani for All Russian Festival of NLP in Moscow 2011.